guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to be covering part 2 of the story I covered earlier, which I'm not going to do a recap on because you guys all saw the thing, but I'm just going to mention where he left off, and that is where our guy here, he and Medusa split up, and he started seeing another woman, and we're about to go down the path where she goes nuts because, God forbid, he was able to move on and get women, while obviously she wasn't able to get anybody. So we're going to pick things up where it left off, and like I said, it's going to go pretty crazy to show you what happens when gals can lose it, when they get rejected, when they can't have the same options as guys do, and also our attempts to really help this guy who is going to go through in this story a very tough time. So it continues. He says here, the following day that she found out I dated someone, as I naturally told Katie when she stayed with me, she phoned me at work and stated that from now on, Katie would no longer be staying with me equally, because as she was a matter of weeks away from finishing middle school, she would need to spend more time making new friends when she went to high school. We're doing after-school activities and staying with me, and that wasn't going to work if she stayed with me during the week. Who does she think she is, dictating how things are going to go? Does she have a lawyer, I guess in your country they call it a solicitor, saying these things, or is just what she says goes? I say bullshit. I pointed out that was precisely why I had gone to great lengths to buying the size of the house in the location that I had, as it was just a 10-minute drive from high school, blah, 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 and could easily accommodate her friends over. I was basically told that it was either that way or that way is how it was going to be, and I could like it or lump up. And by the way, as we will now be going 50-50 childcare, to me seeing her every other weekend, I would be expected to have to pay more child support. So you see less of your daughter, and this ruins the fact that you bought the place specifically that you're now living at for make it easy on the daughter, and now you're going to pay more child support. This is all by design because you are moving on. And when you were talking about the whole amicably thing, a lot of guys probably watching this who've been through divorces were like, oh yeah, amicable. Sure. Wait till she starts losing her mind. And we're just getting started. I tried reasoning with Medusa to allow the current arrangement to stand. Dude, you can't reason with unreasonable people. Don't negotiate with terrorists. You have to play hardball. So I can still see Katie for an equal amount of time. I told her I didn't understand why she would deprive me of that time when she could clearly see that I actively wanted to be part of Katie's life. But I could tell she just wanted to punish me. And for what? What did you do to her? Well, you moved on from her so easily, even though she's the one that wanted to break up. Isn't that fucking psycho? She knew that reducing the time I spent with my daughter was going to hurt me both mentally and financially. She knew I had overreached myself with the house, and therefore knew it was going to be difficult for me to pay child support, or child maintenance they call it there, as it was going to substantially reduce my already stressed disposable income. She knew this. In fact, in my opinion, this was probably her plan all along. Act like everything was cool, so you bought that place knowing darn well you were stretching every dollar, or in case you're every pound, and then checkmate. Well, we're not to checkmate yet, but she's moving the pieces on the board for the checkmate. In the end, I had no choice but to agree the amount that she proposed, which, although leaving me stretched, I believe was still doable without me going into debt. Why did you just go along with that? I mean, really, dude? But then again, you obviously didn't have a whole lot of money for a lawyer. I don't know, but it's a bad situation. I subsequently checked with a friend who had gone through a similar situation, and he told me that there was no point in fighting it in the courts, as he spent £55,000 with solicitors and came away with the same as I had, as that it's the norm for visitation rights. Medusa had me by the short, and there was nothing I could do about it. Okay, so all right, he consulted a friend and been through the same thing, and surprise, surprise, the UK courts are going to still, screw the dads. Imagine that. Remember guys out there that want to get married and all that. Or not even get married, have kids. Women complain how more and more guys don't want to get married, settle down, have kids. Well, guess what? When things start being more fair towards men, then guys will put their hat in the ring for that part, for doing that type of thing. Until then, more and more guys are walking away. Don't blame us. Medusa always seemed to know what Dorothy and I were doing regarding holidays and going away, and it confused the hell out of me how she was always privy to this knowledge. I became that paranoid and distrustful that I even started to question if my friends were telling her my business. However, I eventually found that the leak and unplugged it. It was nothing more than one of her old university friends that had Facebook friended me back when I first met, who I had completely forgotten about. It had been 10 years previous, and because they weren't regular posters, they didn't even register on my radar. As soon as I removed them, the leak stopped. Obviously, as my Facebook page is locked up on private, I didn't think this could possibly be the source. This is why you don't broadcast things you want to keep quiet on social media. I got off fucking Facebook 4 years ago. I couldn't take it anymore. The annoying people out there. Oh my God. And it's been so much more peaceful since. I have a personal Instagram with like 28 people, I think. They're my family and a couple good friends that I post pictures of the cats with, or me on vacation. That's it. Nothing. Nobody else. I'm on there to see what my family's up to. Nothing more. It was only because one of my friends that I asked if he had any communication with Medusa at all, as she was somehow learning about everything I was doing. Suggested I look at Facebook. Another lesson for not posting all your business in public. Yeah, smack. Because he put smack and he knows it. Yeah, smack. Guys, you want to keep something secret? Don't fucking tell anybody. Don't post it on social media. Within days of Medusa saying that I had been on holiday with Dorothy, she further escalated things by involving CSA, Child Support Agency, as she clearly didn't think that she was taking enough for me, as I was still able to finance going away. I have no idea how it works in the States, but because Medusa and I had originally mutually agreed the child support amount between us, they had no reason to get involved. They only do so when either party feels they're not being fairly treated. I didn't get much sleep last night, guys, so bear with me. I had to get this video done, but I'm trying. I had 3 cups of coffee today, and I'll admit the words are getting a little slurred together. So I'm not drunk, so bear with me here. Appreciate it. We're gonna get through this. Not being fairly treated. You gotta be fucking kidding me. Yeah, what happens if the father doesn't feel like he's being fairly treated? Probably CSA probably say, go fuck yourself. However, I soon discovered that I would have to pay more, which is what Medusa was banking on. In this country, is based on a fixed percentage of what you earn for each child. This is irrespective of what your disposable income is. It's based solely on your gross wage less tax. So it doesn't matter if you have just $1 or $2,000 left at the end of each month, they take the same percentage of what you earn. As previously explained, I had mortgaged myself to the hilt to buy a house that would allow me to have Katie and her friends stay with me when she wanted to, so this was going to have a significant financial impact. I'm sorry, dude. That's why I called at the beginning of the story Medusa, because that's who she is. Now you need Perseus to fly in on Pegasus. I think that was his name, Perseus, and chop the bitch's head off. The only saving grace at the time was that with the CSA is done retrospectively, so it's based on your audited earnings of the previous full financial year. Although my salary had recently gone up, that would not be reflected in the amount they would be taking until the next financial year. This meant that for the first year the CSA was involved, the amount taken was not as big a jump as I was initially expecting. Okay, one good thing. But eventually they're going to take their pound of flesh and give it to Medusa. And by the way, I want to point out that Medusa makes all this fucking money and has all this net worth. They don't care. Screw the guy over. Eventually I came to my senses with Dorothy when I gained access to her laptop one day. There were so many red flags, barefaced lies, and incidents in that short relationship alone that deserves its own story, maybe another time. Send your story. We want to hear it. But if you looked up the words narcissist and manipulator in the dictionary, there would be a picture of Dorothy beside each one. Well, I got to point something out, my man. You have obviously a history of picking women that are like this. You need to do some serious self-reflection, my friend, before you get roped into another Medusa. When I accessed Dorothy's emails, I discovered a host of lies, and the most telling correspondence of all, she sent an email to the high school in the town I lived in within a week of our first date, arranging to transfer her son to the school. We met just before the start of school, summer holidays. She knew she was moving in with me before I did. See? They planned this shit, man. All I can say about that relationship is that so far it was the worst relationship in my life. Your relationship with Dorothy is worse than your relationship with Medusa? God damn, okay. Yeah, you got you're terrible taste in women, my man. It left me completely, utterly mentally drained, but also taught me some valuable lessons. You mean you shouldn't get involved with any women because you have a terrible taste in women? The main being that I could now spot a red flag from a mile off. I then met Marcia. Oh, you're on another fucking chick? Can't you take a break? If you want to get some ass, I'm sure you can hire some hookers. I met Marcia on the same site again, but this time I vetted her for months, via phone, message, email, before I even think to meet up with her. She actually didn't think I was interested in getting together, as I was so cautious and wanted to make sure there wasn't even a hint of a red flag. Okay, let's see how this works out. In her, I met the person I wanted to be with all along. Despite all this happening to her in her life, she was the most rounded, normal, honest person I've met. Suffice to say, we have been together just over 9 years now. Oh, okay. Wow. Okay, 3 times the charm. Unless she's secretly plotting your demise, I don't know. But goddamn, dude. However, where you may have thought my relationship with Medusa and Katie might have improved with time, the happier I am, the more Medusa seems to want to take more of that from me. Yes, you just summed up a lot of gals out there. Zero-sum game. In order for them to be happy, you gotta be miserable. No fucking joke. Oh no, you're allowed to move on and be happy. Oh no, she has to destroy it for you. And eventually destroy the relationship with your daughter. So when Marcia came to my life, she met Katie just twice in the first year of a relationship. That was enough for Medusa to decide that she did not want Katie to have any kind of relationship with her or me. Whether she worried that Katie might end up liking Marcia, I cannot say. All I know is that she made it harder and harder for me to see Katie over the subsequent months of 2015. Fucking evil. Your daughter's a kid, now early teenager, and at the end of the day, I don't know what the laws of your country are. There's a point that I know that kids, at least here, can say, I want to live with dad or mom. I don't know how it is over there. But if Medusa is this fucking diabolical with you, I can't imagine all the manipulation and mind effing she did to your poor daughter. You know? So, Katie, it would be nice for her to speak up and stand up for herself and you, but you know, I've met some gals that have been seriously messed up by their mothers. It's amazing. They can, you know, and they through their whole life, they carry this thing to try to make them happy because they can never make their mothers happy. That's shit. Medusa made sure that she arranged for school trips, events, scout trips, you name it, to take place on the weekends that I was supposed to be having Katie. When I asked for them to be rescheduled for the subsequent weekend, I'd be met with a firm, no, that's my weekend, from Medusa. Despite my protests, she saw Katie all during the week, and I wasn't seeing her at all. She wasn't interested. All she wanted to do was to use Katie as a weapon to get back at me, although I don't know for what, and still don't to this day. She's psycho, dude. Maybe borderline bitch disorder. I don't know what. And it ain't borderline, it's full-on bitch disorder. Yeah, there are women out there that spiteful, that venomous. You know, I had a girlfriend in college. Her dad was divorced. You know, she was adopted by him. Great guy. First marriage, he was divorced. And the wife went freaking crazy, just doing everything she could to make it as difficult as possible to see his biological kids and all that. I mean, it was crazy. And no matter how many hoops she threw at him, he found a way to get around it because he was a persistent, tough guy. I always liked him. But yeah, I'm not surprised. Women do this shit. You don't hear this stuff about fathers doing this. And at the end, who are they harming? The kids. They don't care. Just so they can get their sort of revenge. Hell hath no fury. Anyway, about the bitch. Some of my friends have suggested that they think that she may have eventually wanted to have me back after teaching me a lesson. However, I do not buy into that. It just seems that she was just wanting to make me pay for moving on. Your thoughts would be greatly appreciative on the reasons, as no one can come up with a rational explanation that fits it. Well, you are, as a rational man, are trying to use ration to figure out what's going on. Logic, ration. But she's running on pure emotion. So good luck trying to figure that one out. She's a miserable bitch, what can I say? And she's an elitist, she's a professor, and you said that she's Miss MacGyver, can do anything, so it's always probably her way or the highway, she knows best. And who the fuck knows, but don't waste your time, don't waste your time trying to figure it out. You know, you'll make yourself crazy. What else? He says, one time I was even told that Katie couldn't see me for the entire weekend. because she was making a birthday cake for one of Medusa's friends. When I questioned this and asked why I couldn't see Katie on either that Friday night or Sunday, cake making takes place on Saturday, I was told that on the Friday I'd be preparing for the ingredients for the cake, and on Sunday in the afternoon was the friend's birthday, so it wasn't worth coming over just a few hours on Sunday morning. Aha, you should have done it anyway. Seriously, you should have done it anyway. My ex from college, her dad would have done that. Over the coming months, this continued in a similar vein. More school events, a holiday, more scout camps, friends' stayovers, or me being told that Katie was not very well, you name it. I got every excuse in the book for canceling my scheduled weekends. So, a lot of guys at this point are saying, why the hell didn't you get a fucking lawyer involved? Well, later on in this story, he'll address that whole thing. But yeah, this is freaking crazy, and she is evil. When I did eventually go to see Katie, it ended up being just for the day. She seemed subdued and lethargic, wanting to do nothing more than sit in front of the TV. Yeah, because she's miserable and worn down. And I bet you her mother is probably telling her, you're not seeing your father because he doesn't want to see you. She probably told her that. Or that you want to see this Marcia woman, you're moving on from her. I bet you the mother, Medusa, was saying that type of shit. On the way back to her mother's that evening, I took the opportunity to quiz Katie why she didn't seem to want to see me anymore, and she told me that she was scared of her mom. Right there you go. Scared of her mom. She knew that's exactly it. Her wrath. She's playing mind games with her, and it's so sad, this young girl. But at the end of the day, there's only so much you can do at such a young age in this situation. Obviously, I went nuts, and when I arrived at the house, I confronted Medusa as she happened to be in the garden beside the drive as we pulled in. I immediately told her that I thought it was her that was deliberately stopping me from seeing Katie, and that Katie had asked me to see more of me. I stupidly even got Katie to confirm this while she stood beside me, and it resulted in her mother going into a complete rage, screaming at me that Katie didn't know what she was talking about, and for her to get inside now. Well, I know you thought you were doing best, but that put Katie on the spot, which is not a good thing, unfortunately. I mean, she's still a kid and young, and the mother can have such control and power over her. With that, Katie burst into tears and ran inside the house and up the stairs to her room. I instinctively made it after her, and Medusa blocked the path and told me that I was not to go inside, and this was no longer my home, and I had no right of entry. I just pushed past her and stood at the front doorway and called up Katie to try and get her to come back down. I could hear her sobbing from her bedroom. God, poor kid. Medusa had followed me and reasserted herself in the doorway, blocking me, screaming at the top of her lungs not to go in the house, and at the same time for Katie to stay in her room. This chick is psycho, but of course, the court should rather have a kid with a psycho mother than with a good dad. I was absolutely shocked. In all our time together, I had never seen Medusa lose her temper like this. She was nothing like the calm, rational thinking scientist that I knew. I stared absolutely incredulously at what I was witnessing and told her that she had completely lost the plot and probably further fueled the flames by stating that I didn't think that she was right in the head. Oh boy. For an elitist like her to be told that she's not right in the head, oh, you threw 1,000 gallons of gasoline on that fire. All I could see was venom and hate staring back at me. I was that taken aback at the whole ludicrousness of the situation that I just started laughing and shaking my head in disbelief. It was just too surreal. Okay, you just add another 1,000 gallons of gasoline to the fire by laughing at her. I asked Medusa what she thought she was doing to our daughter by blatantly stopping her from seeing me. I can only assume that because she felt that she could control Katie, there were not going to be any repercussions. She screamed at me to leave or she'd call the police, which I just told her she should do. That ain't going to go well for you. In the end, Katie appeared at the top of the stairs and pleaded through tears for me just to go. Not wanting to cause her any more distress and realizing that she probably was going to be receiving a scolding for having said anything to me, I felt it best to leave. Before I left, though, I told Medusa that I thought she needed to receive psychiatric help and she had just turned into a full-blown nut job, where I then turned around and headed toward my car. Man, that must have just killed you, not being able to literally take your daughter into your arms and take her away from this fucking harpy. Man. I gotta say, if I was in that situation, I think a lot of fathers right then and there, as long as the daughter wasn't watching, would want to permanently remove said psycho from this world and would rather spend their lives in prison than have their child who they love so much go through that. And then the child would go off and live with grandpa or something, or grandma and grandpa, than be with this beast. God damn, I'm sorry that happened. As I walked up, I could sense she was following me behind me, and as I turned halfway around to see why, I noticed that she had grabbed the bicycle that had been leaning against the wall outside the front door, and in a fit of rage, attempted to use it to ram into me. She got on her bike, went full blast, and crashed into you? Yeah, she's stable. The front wheel caught the back of my leg, but being rubber didn't hurt that much, but to say I was shocked and surprised at her actions was an understatement. I'd never seen anything like this. As the saying goes, bitches be crazy. Bearing in mind that by this time we had been separated for well over a year, so as far as I was concerned, there was no rhyme or reason for this kind of behavior, and all I could think of it to say, ask her what on earth was she doing. At this point, the raised voices had brought out her father, who was in his late 80s, and he appeared from the garden. I forgot to mention that a few years before he split, he had moved into the house next door, and FYI, he is a widower, as his wife had died of cancer some 30 years ago. I told him in no uncertain terms that he needed to control his daughter, as she had turned completely psycho, and expressed how disappointed in him that I was that he was allowing her to deprive Katie access to see me. He muttered something along the lines of not being able to control her, and I got my car and drove off seething, but still clueless as to the reason for the level of animosity. She's nuts, man. No other way to describe it. And she can get away with it, because if the situation was reversed, come on, we all know what happened. Over the coming weeks, I was sending text messages to Katie's phone, but I could tell it was her mother replying, as the text spelling, punctuation, and language was different to a 12-year-old. If I phoned the mobile, the calls wouldn't be picked up. If I ran the landline, I was told that she was out of friends and then hung up on. I honestly had enough drama in my life with Dorothy, and when even the replies to my lengthy text messages stopped coming through, I confess, after several months of typing, I gave up. No one can blame you for being worn down, but you can never give up for your kid. I do admit that I became somewhat resentful towards Katie, as she appeared not to be wanting to fight to see me in any way, shape, or form. This was further compounded by a friend who also had a split from his wife, and he had two girls, one a year younger than Katie and 1 year older. They overheard me telling my friend about Katie's saga, and the youngest said that if her mother ever had tried to stop her from seeing their dad, she would have told her mom to go F herself. That's not what he says, but something equivalent in British lingo. Except she actually said the words, and coming so passionately from an 11-year-old cut me to the bone, that Katie wasn't fighting to see me in the same way. Dude, you can't compare that young girl to your situation with Katie, okay? Yeah, that'd be great if she fought for you, but you know what? I think, based on your description of Medusa, your ex, Katie was scared shitless of her. Probably feared for her fucking life. She had that much of a mental hold on her. And that can happen sometimes. It's really freaking sad. Now, it's one thing if Katie's not standing up to her, like in defending you at 12 or 13 years old, versus a grown-ass adult. As an adult, that's different. To begin with, my parents were far more pragmatic about the situation, stating that Katie was only 12 after all, and that she was clearly just scared of her mother, so I should cut her some slack. I'm agreeing with your parents. My parents still go to see Katie 3 or 4 times a year, as well as on her birthday and at Christmas. But if they questioned why Katie wouldn't see me, I was told that she would instantly climb up and say that she didn't want to talk about it. So now fast forward time, he no longer has any relationship with his daughter, thanks to fucking Medusa. That is a fucking shame. But here's the thing. Your parents get to see her. So obviously, whatever Medusa put in her head, you can't be that bad if you have parents that have a relationship with you. Also, this would obviously get filtered back to Medusa, and she would punish my parents by not letting them see Katie. And did this for a period of 18 months back then. So after this occurred a couple times, they stopped trying to talk to Katie about it, fearing they would not get to see her at all. One time, Medusa even phoned my parents and asked them to tell me to stop sending Katie any presents or Christmas presents, as it was confusing her, and she didn't want anything from me anymore. Although Medusa naturally still wanted to receive the child maintenance payments, I was absolutely incredulous when they told me this, by the way, as were they. You see, this is going to go against her story. I guarantee she's telling daughter he doesn't want to see anymore. So if you send presents, well, that ruins her story. The narrative she's painting. None of us believed it, and next time Katie visited my parents, they asked her if it was true. When she revealed to them that she had no idea what they were talking about, obviously I ignored Medusa's wishes in this regard, mainly because I was using the birthday and Christmas cards to write long-winded messages about how much I still loved her and how much I wanted to see her again. The only thing I didn't know was if Katie was receiving the gifts and cards to see those messages, as though the entire time I was getting no responses of any description in return. I guarantee Medusa probably was taking those presents and throwing them away, burning the cards and notes and all that. The only time I know for sure she received a particular card and present is once when the mother dropped these off to the house and Katie opened the card in front of my mother, which ended up being quite ironic, as I purchased the exact same birthday card for Katie as Medusa had, which apparently Medusa didn't look very happy about. Not content with making me miserable enough by not being able to see Katie, the following year after that, I saw my daughter. Medusa phoned my mother on my birthday and told her that the reason why Katie didn't want to see me is because in the last phone conversation that I had with my daughter, I had told her to F off and that I never wanted to see her again. But don't tell Mark that I told you so. Of course, she never said that. My mother naturally told Medusa that she could never imagine me doing that, and it was completely out of character for me to do so, and all I wanted to do was see Katie. To which Medusa persisted in telling my mother that what she was saying was true, but not to tell me that she had told her. Obviously, this was complete bullcrap. She phoned up on my birthday telling my mother not to tell me what she was stating, knowing full well that this first thing she would do is phone me and tell me what I had been accused of. This is fucking crazy. This poor guy. And I'm sure there are guys watching this right now that had venomous, miserable exes that just... Because remember, at the end of the day, who's getting hurt here? The daughter not having a relationship with this guy. People like this don't care about anybody else but just bringing misery, and they'll use anybody for it. And the sad thing is people like this end up living long lives. You just want, a fucking, I don't know, something to fall on them, hit them in the head, a bus to hit them or something, remove them from this world. God damn, dude. We're not done, but we have to go through this, guys, to help this guy. The intention obviously being that she knew that this revelation would wind me right up to the extent that such a malicious fabrication would eat me up all day and completely ruin my birthday, which of course it did to a certain extent. But by realizing her intention, it did at least go some way to mitigate the attempt, knowing it was nothing but a screwed up mind game. It was over 2 years since we had separated, and yet she was still trying to hurt me, for fuck's sake. So at this point, I guess Katie's 14 years old. I'm sure many of you are wondering why I didn't pursue the legal route. Yeah, a lot of us are. But after the first year of the CSA getting involved, the maintenance went up to a figure that meant that my disposable income was reduced to the extent that I just couldn't afford to. So although I have a nice house and kept 2 of the cars, I still own those exact same cars now, 10 years later. I live a comfortable life, but a frugal one. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I wear clothes and shoes until they're worn out. But I live from month to month and have no savings. Any legal bill would cost me far more than the combined value of both cars, and Medusa has the finances and the will to drag things out to financially destroy me, so I did not want to give her that satisfaction. Well, you could have sold the house, because it sounds like you own it in full. You could have sold the house and bought a much smaller flat or condo, whatever you want to call it, and all that money in cash that you could have used to fight the bitch. That could have been done. Maybe you thought of that, I don't know, but past is the past. Plus, I felt that to warrant that kind of battle, I need to believe that Katie would fight to see me as well, and the evidence so far proved that she had subsequently been brainwashed by whatever narrative Medusa had sold to her. A lot of truth there. Your daughter's messed up by her, and such a shame. When Katie turned 16, I made one last-ditch attempt to plead to her to come back to my life. I bought her a gold St. Christopher and chain and wrote the following in her card. I drafted an email first and sent it to myself so I would have a record of what I sent. I still have it now and have cut and pasted below. Well, you know what? He wrote a copy of what he wrote to his daughter, a heartfelt thing. So I'm going to read it here because he obviously wants me to. He says to his daughter, who's 16, "It's been almost 4 years since I saw you, and in that time I've missed out on watching you grow from my little girl to a young woman. You may have been convinced that this doesn't bother me, but I cannot express enough how upset I am that I will never be able to recapture the lost time. You have changed so much as a person in that period, and what upsets me the most is I don't even know you as a person anymore. I have no idea of your likes, dislikes, your loves, your hobbies, and what makes you laugh, what makes you sad in that 4 years. I fear you have become a complete stranger to me, and that is what makes me so unhappy. As you can tell from the comments in the last Christmas card I sent you, I still have no idea why you have not wanted me as part of your life, but obviously I have to respect your wishes. So given that I'm not able to be around for your 16th birthday, I bought you a gold St. Christopher with the view that if I can't be there to watch over you in your travels through life, then hopefully this pendant will bring you luck and good fortune in your journey into adulthood. Lots of love, Dad XX. Well, that is a nice letter, but I know you meant to be something nice, but also communication need to be said about whatever your fucking mother's telling you ain't true. But what's done is done. I then expressly asked my mother to give the card and present to Katie when they saw her on or around her birthday, and then asked them to ensure that she opened it in front of them to make sure she read it, and so they could not see her reaction, but ensure that she actually received it and it was not taken from her beforehand by Medusa. Well, it would have been taken by Medusa. On the day they met up with Katie, my mother handed her the present and the card, and she eagerly started to open it, thinking it was a gift from my parents. Well, this girl can't think you're that bad if obviously... Or Medusa's brainwashing can't make her think you're that bad if she has a relationship with your parents. It would make a lot more sense if she had nothing to do with your parents as well. My daughter, Katie, allegedly froze for a second, immediately stopped unwrapping the present, and placed both items in her bag. My mother, realizing the mistake she had made, pleaded with Katie to open the present and the card, but she flatly refused to do so, and she said she would open it at home. I can't really understand if she's doing it out of fear, like she's been so conditioned that mention you or anything to do with your mother, she got the wrath of her mother, or her mother's convinced her that you're the root of all evil and did something horrible. I don't know. Some months later, when my mother next met up with Katie, she asked if she was wearing the St. Christopher, and she just replied in a total matter-of-fact way that it was still in the box in the back of the drawer. Oh my God. When I heard that, it naturally crushed me, and that was the day I completely gave up. I carried on paying child support until my legal obligations were met, which was up until she turned 19 years old, and despite friends telling me from when she was 12, wait until she's 18, that she'll reach out to you, she's now 21 and still nothing. Even my parents haven't heard from her for over a year and a half. So she's 19 now, and you have not seen her talk to her in that time period. She is a legal adult now, okay? And I feel bad for her as a girl and a teen growing up with a mother putting all that shit on her. And obviously she wasn't strong enough to stand up for herself. I mean, believe me, I'm all for accountability here, but I've seen some gals that are fucked up by their evil, venomous mothers. But now she's an adult. And, this is a fucking mess. And to show you what sort of people they've become, Medusa's father, who despite never putting his daughter in line, was still a very decent person that I liked a lot. He died in January 2023 at the ripe old age of 97. And the only way we heard about it was through a friend of one of our old neighbors, who I see perhaps once or twice a year through work. And when I asked about Donald, Medusa's father, as I always do, when I see this guy, only in the middle of last year, 6 months ago, I was shocked to learn that he had passed away. Neither Katie nor Medusa had told any family and haven't even been in touch with my parents since Christmas 2022. Well, now Medusa wants to keep the daughter away from your parents. As I stated in the beginning, this situation does not have a happy ending like most of your others and stories, and I've been left extremely resentful over missing the best years of my daughter's life. Things I can never get back. At least, my saga does have some valuable lessons to learn. I'm sure that SSM can think of more, but here are a few of mine. Number 1, trust should be earned, not given. Freaking men to that, which is why you don't move with some chick into your house after 1 month of knowing her. And I mean Dorothy. As well as not trusting Medusa when she says she's going to get pregnant, amongst many other things. Number 2, look out for any red flags. If you feel even a hint of one, follow it to the conclusion, either good or bad. There were lots of red flags on both of them. 3, some women who show no signs of any psychotic behavior can flick like a switch for no apparent reason. I've done countless stories like that, guys. Guys, I couldn't believe how psycho their gals have gone, just like that. 4, don't try to understand how a woman thinks, as unlike men, it's not based on any kind of logic. Women have a emotion-based CPU, operating system, whatever the hell you want to call it, and you ever notice when women talk about things and explain things, they'll almost always say, I feel this or I feel that. You ever notice that? And if it's an important topic that doesn't involve feelings, it's like, I don't want to hear about your feelings. I want to hear what you think. Guys will say, I think this, I think that. Unless they're feminized guys, and they're going to be like, I feel this, I feel that. I feel I want to get some avocado toast. But yeah, don't try to understand the feelings, because the emotions, haywire. 5. There's nothing worse than a woman's scorn. They're even prepared to fuck up the lives of their own kids to get back at the men for no logical reason. As proven by your story, my man. And many others out there. I'm sure many of you will say I could have done things better, differently, but I can't turn back time now and just have to learn to live with my mistakes I made. It both haunts me that I may never contact my daughter ever again, as well as the same time making me wonder if she did reach out, could I get over the resentment of the years lost? With each passing year, the resentment grows stronger. And that is the sad end of the story. I know you guys are like, what the fuck, SSM? I listened to this shit for an hour and I'm feeling like crap. Well, not everything ends at a high note. But we're here to help this guy out. All I can say is this, man, I'm sorry this happened to you. Yes, you made mistakes, but you know what? What's done is done. They can't be changed. And there are definite lessons in your story. You mentioned them. We don't have to read those again. But I will say this. I can have a lot of empathy and sympathy for your daughter to a point. Your ex is a fucking psycho. And she is a professor, obviously a very intelligent woman. She's also great at mind games and manipulation tactics. And when you have a young girl, how easily that she can mess with her head. And I'm sure she probably did isolation tactics and other things that narcissists do. Yeah, she messed with your daughter big time. Convinced her probably you're the devil, you're the bad guy, all that. Probably convinced that you don't want to have nothing to do with it. Who knows? Or made the daughter feel like if you talk to him at all, you're going to get, it's going to be pretty bad for you. Something like, who knows? But there's a point with your daughter, she became a goddamn adult. And should start questioning things for herself. Yeah, people can get so scarred and so messed up, but still. I say, you have right now, you said you've been with Martha for 9 years and you have a good thing going. Great. You deserve happiness in your life. But don't put all your stock in happiness in a woman. You learn how that went. But if you have Martha now and you have a good thing going, great. I'd say you move forward. And I know you have this hole in your heart, but you see what happens. But if your daughter reaches out to you one day, even though that would make your day, please be careful. Because sometimes in these stories, these daughters don't talk to these fathers after a while. And overwhelmingly, it's because the mothers mess with their head. And next thing you know, it's because the daughter's getting married and she wants the dad there to walk her down the aisle. Or she wants money for the wedding. Sorry I have to say that, but you be aware that could happen down the road. But maybe one day she'll reach out to you, and I would at the very least hear her out. Because I know deep down you want that, but I'd be very careful and not so quick to jump into things. But your ex is the fucking devil. And at least now you're no longer spending money on child support. You can't get back that time. And again, I'm tough, guys, but I try to be fair. And I will say this, your daughter, from a young age, she was going up against a fucking tidal wave that was called your bitch-ass, smelly piece of shit ex. Who, thank God, you never married. Although if you married her and she was making all that money, maybe you would have gotten something out of it. I don't know. Which is probably why she didn't marry you. But anyhow, man, you're going to have to move on with your life. And I'm sorry it happened. Not everything ends with a happy ending or fairy tale. But then again, your life isn't over yet either. I mean, you're obviously now in your early 50s. Not much older than me. You got a lot of good things in your life to move ahead with and move forward and see what happens, But guys, this goes to show you the type of shit, the nasty, venomous crap that gals can do when they have it in their minds that their ex, their guy, former guy, did them wrong, rejected them. Who knows? It was because he moved on too quickly, or I don't know what. You can't figure her out. Don't try to get me to figure her out. She's fucking crazy. And there are wackos out there, which is why you got to spend so much time getting to know them. And don't trust the crap that I can't get pregnant or I'm on the pill, And many other screening process to vet these types. Otherwise, you're going to be involved with them and dealing with them forever. Yeah, you had you stayed with her all those years and you weren't getting laid, which I can't imagine wanting to fuck that bitch anyway. But you had your daughter and she took that from you. And she is pure evil. And I know I've seen throughout my life, and I've heard in these stories, and I do believe this, that eventually karma will come back to people. I know a lot of people think it's bullshit. It's your business. It's fine. But in my experience, sooner or later something awful is going to happen to Medusa. And when it does, she's going to deserve it. Unfortunately, you probably won't be around to see it. And your daughter is the casualty. You're a casualty, and so is your daughter. And I'm sorry for that. But man, you got to move forward. That's all I can say. And, well, who knows what the future may bring. But if Katie comes back into your life, don't be too quick to just accept her back. Don't be too quick to just do anything to take her back for any attention. Because just as you watch my channel and understand, women are the same around the world. And whether they're a romantic relationship or a friendship or a sister or something like that, they don't respect weakness. So Katie comes back into your life, and after everything, you just open arms like nothing happened. That's going to be weakness. And it may not end well for you. You have to make her, if she comes back in your life, you got to make her win you back, not the other way around. And I know that seems impossible to believe, maybe very hard, but you may be in that situation one day. Make her win you back and see what happens. And who knows? But she's an adult now. Kids is one thing, but adult, that's something else. And she now could be doing something, and she's not. So man, I wish you the best. And I'm sorry it's happened to you. This has happened to plenty of good men out there. Ain't going to be the last. But the guys can hear these stories. They can be aware these things happen. Maybe in some way prepare for them. Help them out. But anyhow, guys, this is a long-ass story. It's gone on long enough. So if any of you have been through a situation like this in varying degrees, chime in. Take time to write to this guy in the comment section, and hopefully maybe some pieces of advice, just a couple minutes of your time can give this guy some hope, some support, something to help him out, because he's going through a tough time. And there are too many good men out there going through tough times like this, and I don't want it to happen anymore. I'm sure you liked the video. Share with your friends and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.